The situation in Afghanistan is really dire. We know that the foreign funds have been frozen and the country now moving towards winter, a really difficult time in terms of dealing with the climate. We're joined by our guest joining us all the way from Afghanistan, from Africa Muslim Agency. We're joined by Hafiz Hassan Choonara. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Mufti Yusuf, and shukran for having us this afternoon in South Africa and already nighttime here in Kabul, Afghanistan. Shukran for having us.
Hafiz, jazakumullah khair for joining us. Perhaps you could give us an update on what you've seen thus far. A lot is being written about the situation in terms of famine, the scarcity of food. There's also stories of parents who are giving their kids medication to sedate them because there's no food to give them, to satisfy their hunger. What have you witnessed thus far?
Absolutely, Mufti Sab. The situation in Afghanistan, we know that Afghanistan has been ravaged by 4 decades of conflict, and over 90% of the population of Afghanistan is in urgent need of assistance. And you talk about 90% of the population, one aspect you have the internally displaced, or people that were seeking assistance and directly or indirectly affected with family members having been lost or so-called collateral damage because of 4 decades of conflict. But you also have a situation of the professionals, so to speak, those who have jobs, public servants, people who are working on a day-to-day basis, who are also in need and also waiting in the queues at our bakeries, needing assistance of food. You talk, Mufti Saab, about the situation of parents giving medication to their children as a means of a meal or to quench their hunger or their thirst and to, sedate the so-called pangs of hunger. Just a few hours ago, we're sitting with a family, a widow, and orphans on top of the mountains here in Kabul, and 4 orphan children and a widow. And Mufti Saab, perhaps if we want to go out for the evening, or even not even go out, when we're having supper, and I'm sure in South Africa right now it's supper time, and many family members are about to have their meal. Allah bless them, Allah grant barakah, and Allah protect one and all. But you have options of what type of meal you want, what kind of flavors you want. You have variety options. You have a dish, a starter, a main, ending. And the mother, we were sitting just a few hours ago on top of the mountains of Kabul. Her choice was which 2 children of her 4 kids were going to eat the leftovers that the neighbors gave them last night. So Mufti Saab, you mentioned that parents are giving medication. What choice do they have? We're not saying it's the right thing, but what other choice is a mother left with when the children have not eaten? I asked the mother, when was the last meal? The last meal was yesterday, last night. What did you have? We had bread and tea. And it sounds very evening, very, 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 very late night snack. No, it was the supper. What was the bread and tea? It was the leftover bread from a neighbor that given to them with tea. What is tea? Tea is not your 5 roses or your Joko or your different options. Tea is a bit of water, and perhaps they throw something inside to make it tea. Number one, the excess of clean drinking water. There's no water source nearby. So, speaking to this youngster, ask him, what do you do to get the water? No, I will go 5 times a day. Where do you go? To the nearest borehole. Where's that? Down the mountain in a few kilometers. I carry a 10-liter bucket. I then come up to the home and bring it, and then my mother boils it. And I do this 5 times a day. Obviously, education's impacted. What about the elderly ladies and the mothers who are sitting on top of the mountain, who have no young hands to help them to go fetch that water? We've seen this with our own eyes. When we climbed the mountain, we were doing it just a few hours ago. There is a smell of sewage. It's all over you. You are tramping on it. There's no escaping from it. You see it. It is there. But the elderly, unfortunately, they take the surface water of sewage into their homes. They will boil that and they will utilize it for their consumption. How is it right that in today's day and age, we allow the elderly, widows, our mothers, our sisters to live in such indignified ways. It's not about having access to clean drinking water. It's about them living in an indignified way. And we talk about this family having tea and bread already. We get the picture of what kind of tea and bread they had for supper last night. We were already well into the afternoon of the next day, and these 4 orphan children, or at least 2 of them, and the mother had not had another morsel of food down their throats. Like I bring it back to my point, we have the option of choosing the types of food and how many we want, and first serving and second serving. The mother's choice, she had to decide which 2 of her 4 children would eat the leftover bread from the neighbors she received.
The situation is really, really dire, as you indicate. What about, the overall availability of food on the market? Like Africa Muslim Agency is an NGO and, delivering aid. So if you'd like to purchase, the NGOs that are maybe working there, are they able to get wheat, flour, things like that, purchase it and then deliver it to people who are in need?
Absolutely. Alhamdulillah, the African Muslims Agency is a structured organization, permanent base here in Afghanistan. We have permanent teams. We have an office. And Alhamdulillah, we have the relationships with the necessary industries to have access to the necessary items that are needed for families. This afternoon, a part of our distributions was maize, oil, beans, tea, sugar, rice, winter rescue kits such as blankets, scarves, hats, jackets, shoes, boots, and you name it, heaters, stoves, coal wood. Alhamdulillah, we have access to it here on the ground and readily available to distribute at an instance to the teams or to the needy families who are situated not only in Kabul, but across Afghanistan. So those items, coming back to your question, are available. But when we sit with a mother and her job or what she does, there's no men folk, there's no male structure. Her husband was lost in the conflict. She's looking after 4 kids, and her job, what she does, she goes out and works as like a domestic worker, cleaning homes to the families who perhaps can afford a little bit more. And even though she has a slip disc, even though she's not physically healthy enough to do the work, she has no choice, because come the end of the month, in that small 3 by 3 meter block, she has to pay rent, she has to put food on the table, she has young girls that are growing up that have needs, she has young children in the home that also need to eat, and so the mother goes out and earns whatever she can. Even that, we did the sums, doesn't cover the bare minimum of just bread for the month. They are still dependent. Brothers and sisters, when you sit with the families, when you sit with the orphans, when you sit with the widows, each home, each story more heart-wrenching, more heartbreaking than the next. I think, and I sit here, alhamdulillah, we have the convenience of the facilities around us, but I think of the mothers and the orphans I left on the mountain a few hours ago, and it's not the heart of winter as yet, snow and rain still to come, but it's cold. And I think of how they're going to sleep tonight on a concrete floor with a thin carpet just over that. And I think, the mothers, Mufti Sahib, here in Afghanistan, when it's snowing, they fear to sleep. Because many a time, especially the young ones, lose their lives in the cold. And come the morning, the babies are passed on. Many of the mothers don't look forward towards winter because they're scared they'll lose their children in the cold.
Ya Rab, may Allah Ta'ala make it easy for them. May Allah reward the Africa Muslim Agency's team who's doing great work there. May Allah reward the donors, and we'll continue calling upon the Ummah of South Africa, inshallah, to support this particular cause. Hassan, you remain safe there, inshallah. May Allah protect you, may Allah preserve you. Continue the great work, inshallah, and we hope to have you back in South Africa safely, inshallah, at your return date. Jazakumullah khair for the update.
Ameen. Shukran for having us. Taqabbalallahu minna minkum. On behalf of Africa Muslim Agency and on behalf of the beneficiaries here on the ground in Afghanistan, we'd like to thank the donors who've continued to support the work, and together we can uplift humanity with our generosity, inshallah. Taqabbalallahu minna minkum. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah, your love is great. You're the only one.